She had been on her feet since dawn, balancing trays, forcing smiles, hiding exhaustion behind polite words. Every shift felt the same: long hours, low pay, and the quiet fear of not having enough for tomorrow. As a single mother, she didn't have the luxury of bad days. Her child was counting on her strength, even when her body and heart felt empty. That evening, the restaurant buzzed differently when the billionaire walked in. Everyone recognized him. Expensive suit, calm confidence, the kind of presence that made people stand straighter. When she was assigned his table, her heart raced, not with excitement, but hope. A good tip could mean groceries for the week, maybe new shoes for her child. She gave him perfect service, refilled his water before he asked, made sure the food was exactly right. She ignored the ache in her back and the stress in her mind. When he finished, he nodded politely, paid the bill, and walked out. She looked at the receipt, $0 tip. Her chest tightened, not anger, just disappointment, the kind that settles deep when life keeps taking and never giving. She cleared the table quietly, telling herself to stay strong, telling herself she'd seen worse. Then she noticed something under the plate, a folded note. Her hands trembled as she opened it.
Ooh.
Inside were words written carefully, intentionally, words that felt heavier than money. I don't tip to reward service. I tip to change lives. You looked like someone caring more than people can see. Check the envelope. Her breath caught as she looked again. Under the note was an envelope. Inside was a check, enough to clear her debts, enough to cover rent for months, enough to finally breathe. But more than the amount, it was the message written at the bottom that broke her. A don't quit. Your struggle is not invisible. Your child will be proud of you. Tears streamed down her face, not because of the money, but because for the first time in a long time, someone saw her, not as a waitress, not as a struggling single mom, but as a fighter. That night didn't just change her bank account, it changed her belief. She went home lighter, stronger. Reminded that even when life feels unfair, purpose can be hiding under the plate you almost didn't check. Sometimes blessings don't come how you expect them. Sometimes the world tests your patience before it reveals its plan. And sometimes what looks like rejection is actually preparation for something greater. Most people quit on a moment before that moment is finished speaking. They see what's right in front of them and make a judgment too fast. They decide that what just happened defines the whole story. But life doesn't work in snapshots. It works in sequences. And when you judge a moment too quickly, you risk misunderstanding the message completely. Think about how many times you've said, "This is bad," only to realize later that it was necessary. That delay, that rejection, that closed door. At the time, it felt like life was being unfair. It felt personal. It felt like punishment. But with time, you saw it differently. That moment wasn't there to break you. It was there to position you. The waitress looked at that receipt and saw zero. In her mind, zero meant disrespect. Zero meant another night of stress. Zero meant the world once again taking without giving. And if she had stopped there, if she had let that single detail define the entire experience, she would have carried that disappointment home and let it sit heavy on her heart. But the truth was hidden underneath what she thought she already understood. Life often hides its greatest lessons behind moments that feel insulting, unfair, or disappointing. Not because life is cruel, but because growth requires perspective, and perspective takes time. What you see first is rarely the full picture. It's only the surface. Judging too quickly is dangerous because it trains your mind to expect the worst. It teaches your heart to shut down early. It makes you defensive instead of discerning. When you assume every setback is a sign to stop, you turn temporary situations into permanent decisions. And that's how dreams quietly die. Not from failure, but from misinterpretation. Some moments are tests, not tests of strength, but tests of patience. Life wants to see if you'll stay composed when things don't make sense, if you'll keep your character intact when results don't match your effort, if you'll remain disciplined when the reward isn't immediate. Because the truth is, if you can't handle confusion, you won't be ready for clarity. People who succeed at a high level understand this deeply. They don't rush to label moments as good or bad. They wait to see what the moment produces. They ask, "What is this trying to teach me?" Instead of "Why is this happening to me?" That shift alone separates those who grow from those who give up. Sometimes the delay is protection. Sometimes the rejection is redirection. Sometimes the silence is preparation. And sometimes the disappointment is just the cover page of a chapter that hasn't been read yet. But you won't know that if you judge too early. When you're in the middle of struggle, emotions lie to you. They tell you this is permanent. They tell you you're being overlooked. They tell you your effort doesn't matter. But emotions are responses, not facts. And if you let emotions write conclusions before the story ends, you'll walk away from opportunities that were about to reveal themselves. That waitress almost missed everything because the moment looked final. A 0 felt like the end, but it was actually the setup. The lesson here isn't about money. It's about awareness. It's about learning to pause before reacting, to look again, to breathe before deciding what something means. In life, many blessings don't announce themselves loudly. They come quietly, wrapped in confusion. They sit behind inconvenience. They hide beneath frustration, and only those who remain steady long enough get to uncover them. If you're going through something right now that feels disappointing, resist the urge to define it too quickly. Don't rush to call it failure. Don't rush to label it loss. Stay present. Stay observant. Let the moment finish speaking, because what you think is the end might only be the introduction, and what looks like nothing might be hiding everything. There are seasons in life where you feel completely unseen. You wake up early, you work hard, you give your best, and yet it feels like no one notices. No applause, no recognition, no reward. Just effort after effort with nothing to show for it. And in those moments, doubt starts talking loud. It tells you that what you're doing doesn't matter, that you're invisible, that you're wasting your time. But that voice is lying to you. The truth is this: just because people don't acknowledge your struggle doesn't mean it isn't seen. And just because the reward hasn't arrived yet doesn't mean it isn't on its way. The single mother didn't wear her pain on her face. She smiled. She did her job. She carried trays, not her story. To everyone else, she was just another waitress. But beneath that uniform was pressure, fear, responsibility, and quiet courage. She showed up anyway. And that matters more than people realize. Most of the strongest people you'll ever meet are the ones who suffer silently. They don't complain. They don't announce their sacrifices. They don't look for sympathy. They just keep going. And because of that, the world often overlooks them. But life doesn't. Every honest effort leaves a mark. Every night you push through when quitting would be easier, you're building something deeper than results. You're building character. And character has a way of being noticed by the right people at the right time. You might feel invisible to your boss, invisible to your family, invisible to your friends, invisible to the system. But invisibility to people does not mean invisibility to purpose. Some seeds grow underground before anything shows above the surface. And if you dig them up too early because you think nothing is happening, you destroy what was forming. Hard work done with integrity has weight. Even when no one claps. Even when no one thanks you. Even when no one sees the long nights and early mornings. The world may ignore it for a while, but it cannot ignore it forever. The danger is when you start believing the silence means stop. When you let the lack of recognition convince you that you don't matter. That's when you quit jobs, abandon dreams, lower standards, and shrink yourself. Not because you failed, but because you felt unseen. But listen closely. Being unseen is not the same as being unimportant. Some people don't notice you because they're not meant to. Some doors don't open because they're not your doors. Some audiences don't clap because they're not your audience. And sometimes the reason you're not being celebrated yet is because you're still being prepared. A billionaire didn't announce anything. He didn't make a speech. He didn't seek attention, but he saw her. Not just her service, her spirit. He noticed what others ignored, and that's how life works. The people who matter most often watch quietly. You never know who's observing how you handle pressure, how you treat people when you're tired, how you show up when no one is watching. Someone is always learning from your consistency. Someone is always taking notes on your discipline. Someone is always seeing more than you think. And even if no human ever acknowledged your effort, it would still matter. Because the person you're becoming is the real reward. Strength, patience, resilience. These things don't come from easy seasons. They're forged in unseen ones. So don't let invisibility break you. Let it build you. Keep doing right even when it feels pointless. Keep showing up even when no one praises you. Keep working with excellence even when the reward hasn't arrived. Because one day, most people think change comes slowly, over years, through small predictable steps. And sometimes it does. But there are also moments, rare, powerful moments, where everything shifts at once. One conversation, one decision, one unexpected encounter, one moment that splits your life into before and after. The danger is not that these moments don't come. The danger is that people give up before they arrive. That waitress had lived many ordinary days. Struggle stacked on struggle, bills piling up, hope getting thinner. If you looked at her life from the outside, nothing dramatic was happening. No big breakthroughs, no signs of a miracle, just survival. And that's where most people quit. Right in the middle of survival, because they assume this is all there is. It doesn't send a warning that says, don't quit today, because today is the day everything changes. It lets the moment arrive quietly, disguised as routine. That night was supposed to be like any other shift. Same tables, same uniform, same exhaustion. If she had called in sick, if she had walked out early, if she had decided, it doesn't matter how I serve today, the moment would have passed her by. Not because she didn't deserve it, but because readiness matters. One moment can change everything, but only if you're present when it arrives. People love the idea of breakthroughs, but they hate the waiting. They want the reward without the endurance. They want the miracle without the monotony. They want the highlight without the hidden grind. And yet, almost every life-changing moment is preceded by a season where nothing seems to be happening. That's why consistency is powerful. Not because it feels good, but because it keeps you in position. Showing up again and again doesn't guarantee success, but quitting guarantees you'll miss it. And many people miss their moment not because they weren't capable, but because they were tired of trying. Think about how fragile moments are. A different day, a different mood, a different choice, and the entire outcome changes. That should scare you, but it should also motivate you. Because it means your future is closer than you think. That single note under the plate didn't just change her finances. It changed her mindset. It reminded her that life had not forgotten her. That effort was not wasted. That her story was still unfolding. From that moment forward, she walked differently. She believed differently. She planned differently. One moment redefined her sense of possibility. And that's the real power of a turning point. It doesn't just fix a problem. It restores belief. And belief is dangerous in the best way. Belief makes people try again. Belief makes people dream again. Belief gives energy to keep moving when logic says stop. But here's the truth many don't want to hear. Moments don't change everyone. Two people can experience the same opportunity, and only one life changes. Why? Because one was ready to receive it, and the other wasn't. One stayed open. One stayed humble. One stayed disciplined. One stayed hopeful enough to keep going. Your moment won't always look big when it arrives. It might look like a conversation you almost ignored, a chance you almost declined, a task you almost rushed through, a day you almost skipped. That's why how you treat the small things matters so much. Small moments are often delivery systems for big changes. If you're still breathing, your moment is still possible. If you haven't quit, your story is still alive. And if life feels repetitive right now, that doesn't mean you're stuck. It might mean you're being positioned. Don't underestimate the power of staying. Staying disciplined, staying kind, staying committed, staying ready. Because the moment that changes everything doesn't always come with noise. Sometimes it comes quietly, and it waits to see if you're still there. And when it arrives, it won't ask how tired you are. It won't care how long you've waited. It will simply offer itself. The only question is, will you still be standing to receive it?